Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started, so please find a comfortable place to sit, to stand. We're all thrilled you could be here tonight. We're moving into the awards part of the evening. That's why you're all here. I'm Tom Beer. I'm the editor-in-chief of Kirkus Reviews, and thank you. I'm very pleased to welcome you to the 2024 Kirkus Prize. We're so glad you could join us tonight for the festivities, and we hope you've had a lovely time mixing and mingling on this beautiful evening. Please find a comfortable spot to watch. This is the main event. This is the 11th occasion at which we've gathered to present these unique literary awards, established in 2014 thanks to the support of Kirkus's co-chairman, Mark Winkleman and Herb Simon, who just Sunday was inducted, yes, this is true, into the NBA Hall of Fame, okay? It's a big week at Kirkus. Thank you, Herb and Mark, for championing the magazine, the prize, and the literary community at large. This is our second year hosting the ceremony here in New York, home of the publishing industry, where so many editors, agents, publicists, and book people can gather with us. And for the fourth consecutive year, we're live streaming the event on YouTube so that many more book lovers at home can watch. Thanks to all of you for being here tonight. Now I'd like to introduce the publisher and CEO of Kirkus Media, Meg Laborde-Keene. Meg's belief in the importance of Kirkus Reviews to the book world and her leadership of the company were vital to the development of the Kirkus Prize, and it's safe to say that none of us would be here tonight without her vision. Thank you, Meg.
The hardest working man in publishing, everybody, Tom Beer. Thank you for celebrating with us tonight, either here in New York or virtually from around the world. Okay, I'm going to open tonight's program with a little fun fact. It is impossible for you to lick your own elbow. Next fun fact is that upon learning that, 75% of people try to lick their own elbows. So why are we so inclined to try the impossible? Perhaps that's a question worth posing to the authors in the room tonight, because we all know success in this industry is damn near impossible. In fact, the probability of an author or illustrator being named a finalist for the Kirkus Prize is 0.18%. For the 2024 prize, our critics read 3,246 works of adult fiction alone. They read 2,808 nonfiction books, and to come up with only 6 finalists, they read 3,903 books for young readers. That's a total of almost 10,000 books that were read cover to cover and reviewed for this award, which means more books were considered for the Kirkus Prize than any literary award in the world. Over the past decade, our critics have read and considered more than 100,000 books for only 30 awards. We've had finalists from far-flung corners of the globe and every region in the United States. Our prizes have been awarded to small presses, major houses, marginalized voices, and authors of great influence. Because we read so broadly, the Kirkus Prize is also the most thorough and inclusive literary award in the world. Tonight, winners in 3 categories will be awarded $50,000 each for fiction, nonfiction, and young readers literature. In addition to the prize money, each winner will receive a trophy. The trophy is a commissioned art piece created by the duo Vicini and Chen in London. Every detail is handmade, from the porcelain pages of the open book to the hand-blown glass dome. We create these each year as a gift of appreciation for the winner's contribution to our industry, our art, and our world. Last year, we hosted the Kirkus Prize award ceremony for the first time in New York to celebrate the 10th anniversary of our award. But by the end of the night, we all knew that New York would be the new home for the ceremony. This event has always been wondrous for authors and readers, but here in New York, the birthplace of Kirkus and the cradle of American book publishing, the event seemed to expand to a more complete celebration of the work. Here, we celebrate not just with the authors, but also the editors and agents and publicists and marketing managers and salespeople and so many others who made the choice to work in the book industry. Others who chose careers clearly not in pursuit of money, but indeed in pursuit of richness, depth, understanding, and an almost pathological curiosity about the human experience. We all chose the arts. We all chose this art. And in this room, you can feel the electric connection that creates between all of us. There's a sense of purpose and a purity of intention that we recognize in each other. Maybe it's appreciation for the abstract or a willingness to surrender our own personal realities and to a world created or defined by someone else. It's empathy at its most profound manifestation. It's a communion of the deepest parts of ourselves. And it's also very hard work when that has to function in the context of American business. Some of you in this room might even call it a grind. There's the research and writing, but there's also the pitching and P&Ls and editing and feedback, more editing, marketing plans and emails and emails and emails, and budgets and layouts and cover design and marketing copies and galleys, reviews, product pages and sales conference and keywords and algorithms and pre-sales and print runs, advertising, publicity, maybe a book tour, signings. Did anyone bring a Sharpie marker? Interviews and podcasts and webinars and phone calls and Zoom meetings and Slack and social media. And in the midst of all that, maybe sometimes we don't take time to pause and think about that purity of intention. We spend a third of our lives at work, which means in our business, we spend a third of our lives creating, producing, and promoting thoughts and ideas. Art that is meaningful and beautiful and real. And when do we celebrate that? When do we have a glass of champagne and break bread with our friends and colleagues and consider that our choices were good and worthy, that bringing books to this world is worth the grind? My friends, here in New York, that moment is now. Now, I'd like to leave the finalists with one final fun fact. you already won. 0.18% chance that you would get this far, and you did it. I hope you and all of our colleagues in the room will soak up the appreciation, respect, and validation that's here for you tonight. We respect your talent. We appreciate your hard, painfully unglamorous work. And we offer you validation that the risk you took to follow your heart to the arts was right.
Thank you, Meg. Tonight, we gather to recognize 18 outstanding works of fiction, nonfiction, and young readers' literature that were published in the past 12 months. We'd like you all to get to know the remarkable creators of these books a little bit better. So we dispatched editor-at-large Megan Labrise, host of the Fully Booked podcast, to meet with all of them on Zoom for a series of what we like to call cocktail conversations, a prelude to the sorts of impromptu conversations people are having here tonight. Here's Megan.
Okay, first question. How did you find out your book was a Kirkus Prize finalist? Where were you?
I was trying to sneak in a morning run when my editor from Doubleday called me, and she told me, and I screamed in the middle of the street and tried to run while talking to her, and then eventually just changed course and bought a very fancy coffee and then came home.
I think I was sitting right here at my desk, and I got an email from my publicist that then explained that I wasn't allowed to tell him.
I was in the middle of moving a sculpture.
I had just dropped my kids off from school, and I saw the email, and I was like, ah! And I fell against the wall of the building, and all the parents around me were like, what?
Some of us have these group text chains that if anyone ever read them, our careers would be over. And so I checked this one that is the most entertaining. And one of them were like, yo, Jay, congrats on the Kirkus, And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, congrats on the Kirkus, man. You're a finalist for the Kirkus. I had no idea.
I was in a national park with some family, and then I got the email and was just like, what? Went to a spot by myself, read it 3-4 times, probably had a bit of a cry, and then came back and bought a lot of ice cream.
I was in a meeting with my co-principal and our dean of students, and I snuck a peek at my personal email and stopped paying attention for a couple of minutes. The bell rang and we had to go out and direct students to their classroom. So 500 kids have this way of putting you right back into, reality immediately, but it was a really exciting.
What does this recognition of your work mean to you? What does being named a Kirkus Prize finalist mean to you?
I just really love being in this company.
I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the other people, I was just like, oh my God, to be on this list is such a phenomenal feeling and really one of the highlights of my career so far.
I've really already won. That this is just to be included in this company feels like a life dream complete.
It's such an extraordinary group of finalists, but also working in such diverse fields.
But to be selected for this award, I think, to me, just means that it's also an opportunity to get the book in front of more readers. And given that, the way I think about it, the whole thing doesn't really exist until people start reading it.
I'm just really excited that more people will get to meet all of these, they're not characters, they are real people who I have spent so much time with and care so much about.
This nomination was really kind of brought back some of that purity and love of why I think we all do this in the first place, because it really is about the power of these stories and the power of these truths that we're trying to bring forward.
Writing itself is just such a low serotonin job. The reward is you spend 3, maybe 4 years sitting at home, staring out the window at the rain, working, desperate for any spike in serotonin. And then, along comes this prize shortlist, and there's the spike, and suddenly you feel good about yourself, and that matters. And Kirkus matters.
Kirkus is really tough-minded, I've had all sorts of responses from Kirkus, and I have never felt that there was an unfair criticism.
I always have some trouble with the concept of artistic awards, knowing that perhaps if the judging had occurred on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday, I might not be on the list, which would be fine, but it would be nice to win an award every week. That's
Next one is, what part of this process has brought you the most pleasure?
Finishing.
What I really like about the form of the novel is that it's not a form. When you think about it historically, even the word novel, it's just this new thing. It's the place where you put things that don't fit in any other category.
It seems to me, when you really think about it, that life is fundamentally strange, and that the novel subjectively and objectively has the capacity to enter into the strangeness in all its forms.
I get to study something I've never studied before. I don't remember it once I'm done with the novel, so I'm not any smarter for the effort. But that's the fun part in making it, and it's the layers and the fact that readers will come to it and make whatever meaning they want to make. It has nothing to do with me.
Is there anything you would like to say to the people who were there in celebration of your work?
I guess I would like to start by expressing just my eye-watering gratitude and deep disorientation.
Well, like was said before, you write this book by yourself in a room and you don't really know what any of it means. You're just following the threads to what feels truest to you. And so, I don't know, it's really thrilling.
We just feel really lucky. We feel lucky to be in the room, I gotta say. So thank you for having us.
Thank you for putting me in this category, along with people who've chosen to write with beautiful language. Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart, I'm incredibly grateful.
Just thank you for believing in this call to activism, call to solidarity, call to joy and to hope.
As an author and an artist, I sometimes feel unseen and unheard. So I would say thank you for, humbling a writer who's been around for a while and kind of felt like, I'm just going to stay in my lane and I'll be okay. And I can move out of the old lady lane. And now I'm speeding up the Kirkus Prize zone. So thank you. Thank you for that.
We in the room with you.
Yeah, we love it.
Congratulations to all the finalists. Your books educated, entertained, moved, and inspired us tremendously. 3 very special books will win Kirkus Prizes tonight. This year's stellar group of finalists was selected by an esteemed panel of 2 jurors in each category, all of them booksellers, librarians, critics, journalists, or authors, working in collaboration with the editors of Kirkus. Together, we read widely and deeply to produce the short list of books that we strongly believe represent the very best works of literature being published today. Each is a book that you could share widely with many different kinds of readers, and we know that they will all stand the test of time. We'll begin the awards presentation tonight with the prize in Young Readers Literature. The jurors in this category are Christopher A. Biss Brown, Kirkus reviewer and curator of the Children's Literature Research Collection at the Free Library of Philadelphia, and Michelle H. Martin, Kirkus reviewer and Beverly Cleary Endowed Professor in Children and Youth Services in the Information School at the University of Washington. And here to introduce the finalists is Young Readers editor Laura Simeon.
Good evening. The finalists for the 2024 Kirkus Prize for Young Readers Literature are We Who Produce Pearls, an Anthem for Asian America by Joanna Ho, illustrated by Amanda Pangbodibakia, published by Orchard Scholastic. Exuding love, empathy, and reverence, this lavishly illustrated picture book in verse is a captivating ode to the struggles and triumphs of Asian America. This defiantly bold work is vital reading as we strive for a more inclusive understanding of U.S. history. There Was a Party for Langston by Jason Reynolds, illustrated by Jerome Pumphrey and Jarrett Pumphrey. Published by Caitlin Dewey, Athenaeum. Paying tribute to poet Langston Hughes, this exuberant picture book features energetic artwork and potent verse rivaling Hughes' own. This is a book that reminds us why we read, to forge connections, pursue joy, and celebrate the beauty of the written word. Sophia's War by Hiba Noor Khan. Published by Alida HarperCollins. Immersive storytelling transports readers to World War II Paris, where Sophia is nurtured by her loving French-Algerian Muslim family. This riveting middle-grade novel, inspired by the real-life rescue of hundreds of Jews by the people of the Grand Mosque, celebrates solidarity in the face of hatred. Shark Teeth by Sherry Winston. Published by Bloomsbury. This ode to sibling and found family love, told in an authentic middle-grade voice, offers readers an unflinchingly honest story about the impact of parental instability. Readers will resonate with African-American seventh grader Kita's nuanced journey to recognizing her right to be a carefree child. Gather by Kenneth M. Cotto, published by Candlelit. Humor, grace, and tenderness bring to life this beautifully realized story. Ian, a white teen growing up in rural poverty and struggling with his mother's opioid addiction, finds support and community in the friends, neighbors, and random caregivers he gathers, all symbolized by the stray dog who gives the novel its title. Bright Red Fruit by Safia El Hilo. Published by Make Me a World Random House. Poetry is a lifeline for Sudanese-American Samira. Propulsive, mesmerizing verse insightfully explores a complex mother-daughter relationship, impossible societal expectations for teen girls, and tensions between love of community and yearning to break free, as Samira is cruelly exploited by a man she meets online and uplifted by sisterhood. And the winner of the 2024 Kirkus Prize in Young Readers Literature is Gather by Kenneth M. Cotto.
Boy, every Monday I get in front of a faculty. I'm a high school principal, and I'm totally unprepared for a faculty meeting. And, you know, that relief that I was used to having around books, that I wasn't going to be the one who had to get up there and do an unprepared speech, just disappeared. Okay, so I can't remember Meg's last name, Meg from Kirkus, who came up here, talked about, you know, lifting your elbow. And and attempting the impossible. And a guy who, he wasn't born in Vermont, but he died in Vermont, Murray Bookchin, who's one of my heroes. He once said, "We must attempt the impossible or face the unthinkable." And I think sometimes that's what educators have to do. That's what teachers have to do. Because we can't see, we don't know what we're getting our kids ready for. We don't know the world that they're growing into, but teachers who fall in love with these kids, we try to do our best to usher them into the world. And it's, I think, then what we do with education is we look at the data and we see a whole ton of numbers, and we forget that every kid is an individual. And it's so easy right now, it's almost in vogue to disparage the white rural male. And they were all young once, and they all had their own difficulties once. And then we can look at the individual. And that's what I think literature does. That's what I think Kirkus does when they take that time with a book. And so thank you so much to Kirkus. Thank you to Ginger and Candlewick and my wife Lisa for putting up with me. This is for every one of those kids, because I wrote this book for Ian, for the main character, to just, who knows who he's going to grow up to be. But as children, we're beautiful. So I'm going to stop there. Thank you.
The next award this evening is the prize for nonfiction. The jurors in this category are Hannah Bay, journalist, author, and illustrator, whose work has appeared in Margins, Catapult, The Washington Post, The San Francisco Chronicle, and in the anthologies Our Red Book and Don't Call Me Crazy. And Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Mary Ann Gwynn, former books editor of the Seattle Times, whose work has appeared in Kirkus Reviews, the Los Angeles Times, and the Minnesota Star Tribune. And here to introduce the finalists is nonfiction editor John McMurtry.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here. The finalists for nonfiction are The Achilles Trap, Saddam Hussein, the CIA, and the Origins of America's Invasion of Iraq. By Steve Call, published by Penguin Press. Steve Call, an acclaimed journalist who's written about Osama bin Laden and U.S. involvement in Afghanistan, here exposes the backdrop to one of the pivotal U.S. involvement in Afghanistan, pivotal events of the early 21st century, the Iraq War. His analysis of the United States' catastrophic dealings with Saddam Hussein across 3 decades is a remarkable synthesis of investigative reporting and gripping narrative storytelling from a writer with deep knowledge of his subject. Challenger, a true story of heroism and disaster on the edge of space. by Adam Higginbotham, published by Avid Reader Press. Meticulously reported and gracefully written, Adam Higginbotham's devastating account reveals the little-known facts behind an entirely preventable tragedy, the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger in January 1986, killing all 7 crew members on board. The author lucidly details the technical issues that led to the disaster, but more crucially, he shines a light on the human failings as well as the bravery that were on display in this epical event. Feeding Ghosts, a memoir by Tessa Hulls, published by MCD, Farrar, Straus, and Giroux. This exceptional book employs a harmonious combination of words and pictures to grapple with complex truths about the effects of trauma and mental illness on the author, her mother, and her grandmother, with the ordeals of the Chinese people during and after World War II in the foreground. Rarely has a family's history been so effectively connected to world events by an artist and writer who also seeks an honest reckoning with her own actions. The haunting, swirling illustrations elevate Feeding Ghosts to the top rank of contemporary graphic memoirs. The Garden Against Time, in Search of a Common Paradise, by Olivia Lang, published by W.W. Norton. At once incisive and lyrical, Olivia Lang's book is a sublime study of gardens and gardening through history, from the literary depiction of Eden in Milton's Paradise Lost to the roots of English-style gardens in the slave trade and the practice of gardening in the age of climate change. The book's many diverse branches are grounded in the author's account of restoring an 18th century garden at her home in Suffolk, England, a personal passion that deepens this stirring meditation. Undue Burden, Life and Death Decisions in Post-War America. By Shefali Luthrop, published by Doubleday. A phenomenal feat of on-the-ground reporting, Undue Burden documents in clear-eyed detail and accessible prose the real-life hardships caused by the Supreme Court's decision, the reversal rather, of Roe v. Wade and the multitude of abortion restrictions that states have enacted in the 2 years since. The author travels from Texas and Oklahoma to California and New Mexico, speaking with pregnant people and healthcare providers and gathering stories to better understand the ripple effects, large and small, on reproductive health care and personal freedom in America. Another Word for Love, a memoir. By Carvel Wallace, published by MCD, Farrar, Straus, and Giroux. Carvel Wallace's candid and moving memoir asks readers to consider, what does it mean to become a person, and what does it mean to love? In captivating, mosaic-like fashion, the author builds a portrait of himself as a young black man raised by a single mother and the formative experiences from houselessness to addiction and parenting that shaped him. Another Word for Love is a searching, elegantly written inquiry that is both deeply intimate and profoundly philosophical. And the winner of the 2024 Kirkus Prize for Nonfiction is Challenger by Adam Higginbotham.
I was really certain that this wasn't going to happen. So my wife said to me, you should write a speech just in case. And I said that was ridiculous, so we compromised and I made a list. Sorry, I really didn't think this was going to happen. Shit. I mean, so thank you to everyone at Kirkus. Thank you. And especially the judges of the award, Hannah Bay and Marianne Gwynn, for recognizing my work alongside that of such an extraordinary group of fellow authors who are all sitting down there. I'd also like to thank everyone who helped me during the years of research and reporting of this book. Rocket engineers, astronauts, NASA secretaries, technicians, Navy divers, news reporters who shared their memories and archives with me, but most of all, the families and friends of the Challenger crew, without whose understanding and trust, it wouldn't have been possible to tell a story. It wouldn't have been possible to tell a story at all. Writing a book is, in my experience, a very lonely and, as someone else has pointed out, serotonin-free experience, and often feels like you're doing it on your own. But the truth is, as most people in this room know, that's completely inaccurate. So I'd like to thank everyone at Simon & Schuster and Avid Reader, John Karp, Ben Lunan, who is here somewhere in the room, over there, Jofi Ferrari Adler, Carolyn Kelly, Jonathan Evans, Dave Cass, Eva Kerins, Meredith Villarello, Nick Rooney, and my editor in London, Greg Close. I'd like to thank my agents, Edward Orloff, Sophie Lambert, and Christina Moore. And most of all, I would like to thank my endlessly patient and brilliant wife, Vanessa Mobley, and our daughter, Isla, without whose support and belief, I wouldn't be standing here this evening. Thank you. I couldn't be more astonished. So, thank you.
Are we ready for the final prize of the evening? It's been an exciting night. Thank you. Now, for the final award of the evening, the Kirkus Prize in Fiction. The jurors for the prize are Christine Ballo, co-owner and director of programs for Loyalty Bookstores in Washington, D.C. and Silver Spring, Maryland, and Jeffrey Burke, Kirkus reviewer and former editor at Harper's Magazine, Wall Street Journal, Vanity Fair, and Bloomberg News. And here to introduce the finalists is fiction editor Lori Muchnick.
Good evening. The finalists for the 2024 Kirkus Prize for Fiction are Say Hello to My Little Friend by Janine Capot-Crusette, published by Simon & Schuster. A young man who went from Cuba to Miami on a raft. An orca who spent most of her life at SeaWorld. The movie Scarface. Moby Dick. Somehow, Janine Capot-Crusette combines these disparate elements into a singularly compelling novel, unclassifiable and unforgettable. The Mighty Red by Louise Erdrich. Published by Harper. Kismet Poe is in high school, and two boys want to marry her. Her mother is a trucker who hauls sugar beets, and her charming father stole money from their church. The Red River cuts a vivid track through the hardscrabble lives that anchor Louise Erdrich's latest novel, a tender, wise, and capacious exploration of the land and people of North Dakota. James by Percival Everett. Published by Doubleday. In Percival Everett's audacious reimagining of Huckleberry Finn, Jim, the enslaved man who travels the Mississippi River with Huck, is revealed as James, who can write, argue with Voltaire, and speak in the most elevated English. This enthralling novel can be read on its own, but Everett has made it a necessary companion to Twain's masterpiece. Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. Published by Atlantic Monthly Press. Over the course of Paul Lynch's frightening novel, one woman tries to preserve her family as Ireland devolves into a brutal police state. Eilish's labor unionist husband has been taken away, and her son has been called to military duty. Lynch makes every step of this near-future nightmare as plausible as it is horrific. Playground by Richard Powers. Published by W.W. Norton. Two boys bond over board games and fall in love with the same girl. One becomes a tech multimillionaire. The other moves to an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. There's an elderly scuba diver, too. Richard Powers explores the computer revolution and the preciousness of aquatic life in this engaging, eloquent message for our fragile planet. And Margot's Got Money Troubles by Rufy Thorpe. Published by William Morrow. When Margot, a college freshman, gets pregnant with her English professor's baby, she decides to keep it. One thing leads to another, and she's posting videos on OnlyFans, a porn site, and taking marketing advice from her pro wrestler dad. Rufy Thorpe's exuberant novel has terrific characters, deep thoughts about fiction and morality, a love story, and a happy ending. And the winner of the 2024 Kirkus Prize for Fiction is James by Percival Everett. Accepting the prize is Bill Thomas, the publisher and editor-in-chief of Doubleday.
Right. So in addition to being a prolific and brilliant novelist, a horse trainer, a painter, a fly fisherman, a jazz musician, a mathematical philosopher, and an overall Renaissance man, Percival teaches full-time at USC. So he couldn't be here this evening as the semester is in full swing. But he did write a note in case he was honored with this award, which I will read in his stead. He says, "Thank you for this award, but more importantly, for being considered with these wonderful works. Thanks to my dear friend and agent, Melanie Jackson, and my wonderful editor, Lee Boudreau, and all the folks at Doubleday. And as always, thanks to my wife, Danzy Senna. Without her, there would be no books." Thank you.
Congratulations to all the winners and the finalists for your outstanding contributions to contemporary literature. Thank you. A big thank you to our production team, Wildbound PR, and to the publicist for the Kirkus Prize, Kimberly Burns of Broadside PR. Tonight's playlist is hers too. Thanks to all of you watching at home on YouTube, and for those with us here in New York, we invite you to stay and enjoy food and drink from the buffet stations set up around the room. Please stop by the Hive Mind Books table, where signed copies of the Kirkus Prize finalists and winners are for sale. Have a very good evening.